Hello, friends. Well, this is yet another experiment. The body feels pretty crappy, and the eye, although it doesn't look so great, it's looking better than it was looking yesterday. I was really glad that I recorded those 3 journals in a row so that I could hide yesterday. Okay, so even though the body isn't feeling chipper, the spirit is fine. So I'm going to share my next journal with you, and we'll see how this goes. Now, it's got, let's see, it's from June 1st. The first one of that day, Mayan day, was 10 wind. And it's got some nice links to some previous journals to help illustrate something, help illustrate being danced. That's a strange concept when you first encounter it. So anyone who might like a bit of a deeper immersion in it, I've got probably a dozen videos that'll come up for you if you put that in the search, but I picked a couple and gave you easy links into them. So, here we go. When you do what you've always done, you get what you've always gotten. Pretty basic, right? Well then, why don't more of us get it? The mind reads or hears this and skims right over it, not even pausing to muse or ponder what it could mean. Mind fears change. You know this, right? Parenthetically, only when in heart is it easy to pause over such things. When you're in heart, it's just the natural thing to do because you're going deep. Let's not leave the driving to mind anymore. Let's take over the wheel and see how that goes for a while. The first thing we'll notice is that we're more present, more fully in the moment, in the now here, the ultimate nowhere. Another thing we would notice if we did this was our easy willingness to stop and pause now and then. We wouldn't find ourselves in any rush having to overcome that. Now that would feel strange at first. Easy to get used to though. To give us a hand, I recommend we look into supplementing with a mineral, with some form of magnesium. Now, don't buy the dime store, grocery store stuff, okay? You can do better than that. Do a wee bit of research. It won't take much. And the better stuff isn't expensive anyway. There's this powder drink that I get that you mix up. I like it. It's called Magnesium Calm, I think. It's got the word calm in the title anyway. It comes in different flavors, and it's one easy way to boost your intake of this vital mineral, whose side effect is relaxation, maintaining calm. Don't take it all at once, like in the morning, but space it out through the day. Like your B vitamins, it's better for the body that way. Check it out, do the research. There's nothing wrong with working at things from different angles. Now, sure, meditating is great, but many are almost too tense to get much benefit from it at first. Maybe one less cup of coffee, or meditate before coffee time. Little stuff like that can help. More important, it's also the evidence of love, of loving the self. Do you see? Do you get the sense of that? Get the feel of things. It's much more honest, more direct too than whatever's on the surface. That's 3D stuff, which is fine, but don't limit yourself that way. To look deeper, get into sensing things, feeling them out. You're more psychic than you know. You're also quite telepathic. It's only some unpulled weeds in your belief garden that prevent you from seeing this more directly. But you will, if that is your choice. Up to you. Taking our power back. I just love singing that song. I know I'm not alone in it either. It may be one of the more popular tunes on this channel that I like to play. It's such a shock at first on learning that you are the divine, that you are source, robed in flesh. Not your mind. Deeper than that. It's almost too much to take in, at least right away. Why is that? Well, it's due to the programming we already have on board. To take the new stuff in, some of the old stuff has got to go. Thus, the opening statement about getting the same old thing if you keep doing the same old thing. Change is great, but it requires your participation to get the most out of it. Did you know that? Or are you one of the ones who thinks they will just sit back and relax and everything will just show up at their doorstep? Well, a lot of that actually works. The relaxing thing, it's just awesome. And it's needed by the huge majority of us. We're way too tense and too hard on the self. But there's this really neat thing called free will. There are so many things in this life experience that require us to make a choice. And by sitting back, doing nothing, we are making the choice not to choose, which is in itself a legitimate choice. Maybe not the wisest one, but as good as many other people make, I suppose. Balance. Where can we find the right balance point here? The balance between action and non-action, between being and doing. I found it in a place that mind never expected. It functions in a way mind couldn't have visualized either. It's called being danced. Perhaps you've heard of it. I'll link you in the written journal over to an old journal or two dealing with that if perhaps it's new to you. One of those journals will give you a wee bit of history on it, where I picked it up. It basically means turning over the reins of control to your higher self, or perhaps to what I call heart. These are just words. Get the sense of them. It means a big letting go. Letting go of concern about how things will turn out, about what's up ahead. It means, in a very big way, coming back into the now here. Also the nowhere. So, if you do what you always did, you get what you always got. Is that so? I think it is. Pretty safe bet. How about you? How radical are you willing to get with this? How high a cliff are you willing to jump off into thin air? Said another way, how tired are you of the way things have gone thus far? Is it working out for you there? Now, whoever and wherever you are, I'm sure you've been noticing some change. how present you are to your now will determine what you notice to a great extent. When we're in mind, we're mostly kind of smeared out over time into both past and future to a large extent. Have you noticed that? Have you self-observed it? Well, if you're not even present in your now, how can you hope to fully experience what it brings your way? You're not there. Oh, you look to be there. Your body can be seen, sure enough, and you're talking, you're walking. But that's not you, so no, that doesn't count. Sorry, nice try. You, my friend, exist on many, many dimensions, well beyond your 3D presence. Now, are you open to that? Does it strike fear into you, maybe? Fear of the unknown? And that's fine. Remember, everything's fine. Now, if so, that would be mind. For how can you, the real you, be afraid of what you are? Be afraid of you. We've been running around operating on 1 or 2 cylinders, my friends. It's nuts, I know, but it's the result of both the mind programming we've been through, as well as the way our DNA was engineered in the way long ago. Well, both of these are now being changed. Are you participating in that? Are you even aware of it? Now, I bet you are. I know you are on the deeper levels. I guess I'm asking, how consciously aware of it are you? Some of this stuff is pretty hard to miss. To get your beliefs to change, you have to participate, or the old momentum will just carry you on. Yep, in the same old way. Now, most of us are good and tired of that, so we're agitating for change. And what I offer here is the suggestion that to change your outsides, you must change what is inside first. Now, that's really deep, but it's pretty darn simple, isn't it? Change starts on the inside, not rocket science. Yet, it's because we somehow, as a race, managed to forget that very essential truth that the world is in such a mess. We're all running around, a lot of us finally recognizing the mess. Recognizing that something must be done. And that's great as far as it goes. Oh, with one caveat. You've got to change it within first. Otherwise, in spite of your best efforts, you just recreate more mess. And this is so flippin' obvious once you see it, it's ridiculous. So, everyone is doing so much these days to change things from without. We're getting a lot more participation, petition signings, marches, people are speaking up, they're coming out of the closet, and that's great. With the typical limited success. Now listen, if we're angry inside, we're going to have wars. If we're greedy inside, we'll have poverty. If we're hungry inside, we'll have consumerism. The list goes on. Let us be the ones to wake up and realize that all true change starts within. We can do more for the world, literally, by changing what's going on inside. I kid you not. So, the monk or the yogi in the Himalayan cave serves mankind just as much as the one there on the front line of life, marching. It just works like that. Mastery of the within translates to the without. Guaranteed. You know, the ancient ones left us a very reasonable crumb trail on this one. The message made it down through the millennia, through the centuries. Yet we've been too firmly placed and focused in the left brain to even hear what they said. It does no good in the books if we're not present when we read them. We just don't hear, we don't get what they said. Even while the mind is quite confident that yes, oh yes, it understands. You know, it can give you a whole spiel on it. Who is brave enough to step out and away from mind? Who has this courage? Who will take back the reins of control? For I assure you that mind is quite firmly in the driver's seat. It will take determination and some wisdom to shift the balance of power, which right now is not balanced at all, not for most. We were taught that we were humans, when we're not. They are more like avatars we are using to play a game. Oh goody, I just thought of another link I'm going to include with this. You guys have got to start clicking over and checking out these links, I'm telling you. Now, okay, more like avatars. I hesitate to say it that way, for mind will misunderstand, guaranteed. So, I ask you to listen from heart. Settle down deeply into heart, if you haven't done so already. Actually, that may need to be an opening instruction or reminder for each journal. Otherwise, you just won't be tracking with me. We were taught that the body is us, that its name is our name. Not so. Likewise with mind, we were taught to identify with these two. Upon accepting this instruction, we lost touch with the deep inner core, the real self. Those are the stitches we are now going back to pick up. We are renewing our identity in light. Now this changes everything. Simply everything, nothing remains untouched. When the very most basic elements of instruction were so far off, so faulty, and they form the foundation for the rest. So the whole thing becomes as flimsy as a house of cards, falling down, making a mess, or seemingly so. It's not a mess, not really. It's the most beautiful sculpture of our lives lived so far. It's the beginning of finding the true self, the real one that you are, the divine. So, let's not focus on mess or difficulties or the like, but rather keep our eye on the divine and our focus within. The surest way to reconnect that I've found is sticking to heart, is centering and staying centered in the chest. Anyone can do this. It's not at all hard. It's a bit strange at first, disconcerting, but that's fine. You want change, right? Attitude, too, is important. This is also an area we need to take our power back in. Most of us are quick to blame a bad mood on circumstances or on someone, and that's utter nonsense. If it wasn't in us, it would not be there to come out. Always, always look within for the causes. They are not out there. So, this attitude of taking responsibility for the life is a good one I highly recommend. At first, it is difficult. Feels like swimming upstream. Everyone else is going the other way. Now, you won't think so initially. Mind cannot see into the depths of this. What you will find when you look deeply is that you are playing the victim role again and again in most unexpected, surprising ways. It's an unpleasant shock, I can tell you. Things are most definitely not what they seem to be, and that includes you. No, perhaps you never imagined you were being a victim at any time. You never saw yourself that way, never whined, never complained, etc. That stuff doesn't matter. You are doing it if you ever blame anyone or anything. Period. Now that's a big one to take in, but don't worry. The seed is planted now if you're receptive. Only if you're willing will it take root, though. You're in charge. It'll take some nurturing, which is done by simply being open to the possibility that this could be so. Then, being ready to process the pain that arises as the discoveries occur. There is pain ahead for us all, my dear ones. That's without a doubt. So, how about we cease being afraid of it? What is that to you when you are source? Hello? Do tell. Let us stop being mastered by such little things. It's time we took on our divine identity and ruled our own life, which is that which we have dominion over. Now, I must put in a word, too, about not trying to rule in someone else's domain, even if they want you to. It's not helpful to you or to them. It just doesn't work out well overall. Each one is divine, not only some of us, not only certain masters, certain priests, sages, Christs, or Buddhas. It doesn't work that way. As all of them taught, don't trust what you've been told or taught. Know that it's basically all lies. That's a good place to begin. And that hurts too. Big time. We are tempted to look back at our life and say, what a waste! All that education, all that work to learn nothing but lies? We are tempted to anger as well. Well, newsflash, welcome those feelings in. They are your healing. They are legitimate. And they won't last forever. If we ever want healing, my friends, we've got to be willing to welcome our feelings, including our woundedness, even with open arms. Love the self. Love the self wholeheartedly. It's on your road to wholeness. So, don't duck and dodge when dicey or difficult feelings emerge. Maybe take them to the journal, write things down, or even speak it out into a recorder or just into the forest air. Just some way to retain to jot down what you're going through. I've got a lovely typo there. It says to joy down what you're going through. You'd be surprised at the alchemy, at the help that can spring from that. Now, can you slow down enough to give it a go? It's up to you. You know how well we're programmed to run from our pain and from discomfort. Okay, it's getting on 2 a.m. and my eyes are getting heavy. I think I will cease for now. This is a red letter day. Well, sort of. I wrote 3 journals in it, though this one, being begun after midnight, will look like it was written the following day. That is so patently stupid. What native people anywhere ever started the new day in the middle of the night? I ask you. Such insanity we're fed, just as if it made sense. Namaste, my friends. Meet me within.